Hello and welcome to Fletch and Sav, the best bits today from Goodison Park with plenty of guests and talking points after a huge week of football, Rob.
Everton v Arsenal was the game, and here, the pint-sized version of the show. And, as ever, there was never a dull moment.
Inevitable, I suppose. 65% were they Barcelona on the night?
Yeah.
They still got three.
Well, I think that going into the game, it was always going to be an uphill task for Arsenal, and I think that all they could have really taken out of it for a Barcelona side that were, for me, they weren't very much out of second gear. I thought Arsenal, they'd done well enough.
But, you know, if Arsenal had taken their chances, by the way, I thought Arsenal gave them a good game. It's just the difference was the quality of the finishing.
You boys watch Arsenal far more than what I do, but when I watched Sanchez, I thought last year he was possibly Arsenal's best player.
Yeah.
This year, he hasn't really fired like he should do.
Well, once he got injured, since he's been back, he hasn't really been the same player, and it's alarming the form that Arsenal are in at the moment. I mean, we're talking about winning a Premier League. I'm not even sure they're going to be in the top four.
When we're talking about where the English teams lie, Pellegrini kind of disagrees. In one of the papers this morning, he says that only Barcelona are better than Manchester City, which I think is incorrect.
Yeah, I do as well. I think PSG...
I think Bayern are pretty good. PSG are pretty good. Atletico would beat City over 2 legs.
That's just not true, is it? That's just not the case. Not at the moment.
Especially now without company as well.
Yeah. I mean, if Manchester City are our best team, you could argue it's Leicester at the moment, but as I say, I think there's 5 or 6 teams in Europe at least that are better than our best team, so I don't think it's true either.
Can we rectify this quickly? Is this a summer situation where we can rejuvenate the clubs, new managers can come in, as you talked about, and they can go and get players? Or are there not enough players for one summer to rectify the problems that we're seeing in terms of our teams being weaker than the big hitters in Europe?
Well, I think the one thing that you mentioned there, we're getting, or we should be getting, looks like we're getting some of the best coaches in the world over the summer. The best coach in the world is coming, Pep Guardiola. Everyone's going to have to raise their game. The Premier League gets richer and richer, so more and more, you know, the better players are always going to be attracted. It's only a matter of time. I think we're below, you know, the Barcelonas, Madrids, the Bayern Munichs at the moment in terms of quality, but it's only a matter of time before we get back up there.
Raised the question this morning, would both, one or neither, be in charge of their respective clubs next season? And you surprised me because you said both.
I think both.
You think both will still be here. Would you go along with that?
I think Roberto Martinez will be here.
Yeah.
I think he's in the process of building something. You know, this is his 3rd season. He's got a batch of young players coming through. The important thing for me is he needs to keep these players in the summer. Whether he can do that, you know, you're talking about Lukaku, who's going to the Euros, you're looking at young John Stones, you're looking at Ross Bartley. If we can keep them for another 2 years, there's no
Why
reason.
would they stay, Sharpie, though?
Well, that's a big thing, Robbie, as well. But the new owners coming in as well, and I know it's different nowadays, but, you know, these lads are on long-term contracts, I think 5 years or whatever kind of thing. So whether you could talk to them and see this is where we want to be. Of course, boys want to play Champions League without a shadow of a doubt. But I think if you can keep these young players together, I think they've got a big future.
I think we have a problem in this country that when we see someone who is showing potential, we start over-exaggerating and talking about him being world-class. The same thing, you know, that's happened to John Stones has happened with Raheem Sterling. You know, I see Raheem Sterling as a player with enormous potential, but let him, you know, improve, which I'm sure he will do. You know, if you look at Everton, they are the biggest underachievers for me this season, apart from Chelsea, in the Premier League. And one of the reasons is that they've conceded far too many goals. They scored 51 goals, a lot, you know, down to Lukaku. So the goals for is absolutely exceptional. That's in the top 3 in the Premier League. The reason they've conceded too many is because I think John Stones makes too many errors, but he will eradicate that as he's learning the game.
That's all for Fletch and Sav this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. We're here in pre-recorded form next week as we bring you 2 hours of the very best bits of Fletch and Sav this season so far.
Keep followers on Twitter and you'll get to see what we'll be doing with the weekend off. It's obviously the international break.
See you in a fortnight.